Good morning. Mark Johnson from Loyalty 360. Hope everyone's happy, safe, and well. I want to welcome you back to another edition of our Leaders in Customer Loyalty podcast, the Brand Stories Edition. It's great having you with us every Thursday. Today, we're going to be joined by Eric Creel. He is the Loyalty Program Manager at Journeys, the Genesco-owned footwear retailer with nearly 800 stores across US and Canada. They are built around self-expression, fashion, and culture. Journeys has earned a loyal following by staying closely connected to what customers want and where the trends are headed, which is a very good thing to have. Now, following the launch of its enhanced All Access Rewards 2.0 program, the brand is taking its customer loyalty strategy to the next level. In this conversation, we'll discuss what customer loyalty means to Journeys, why trust is at the center of every customer relationship, and how AI and personalization are shaping customer experience, and also what it takes to keep members engaged between purchases, which is something we all would love to know more about. We're also going to explore the evolving customer expectations, Gen Z engagement, and the role cross-functional collaboration plays in loyalty access. Eric, thank you for taking the time to join us today. How are you?
Doing well, Mark. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. First off, for those who may not be familiar, can you give us a brief introduction to Journeys, what you guys do, how you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Journeys is a shoe retailer. We're part of the larger Genesco family that owns a lot of brands that work in the shoe space. So that is Journeys in US and Canada, Johnson and Murphy as well, and also Little Burgundy in Canada, and then Chew in the UK and Ireland.
Okay.
In the Journeys part specifically, we've got about 800 stores, give or take a little bit. We're in the process of doing some remodels and launching a new look in our locations there. But very proud to be a part of the Journeys family. Been with them about 2 years now. And earlier this year, we actually celebrated our 40th anniversary as a company, and just really focusing on staying relevant in the shoe space with younger consumers. And yeah, that's what we do.
Oh, that's great. So, Genesco is a kind of a larger shoe company, as you mentioned, Johnson
Mhm.
Murphy and others. When you look at Journeys and the Genesco family, what's led to the success it's had as an organization?
Yeah, so they've done a really great job of kind of staying at the forefront of that self-expression through fashion, kind of youth movement there. I would say it really kind of starts with some of the leadership positions that folks that we have in leadership positions, rather. Our merchandising and product teams do a fantastic job of building relationships with some of the biggest brands in the shoe space, and then getting the styles and the brands that our consumers are really looking for. We
That's
then combine that good product with a great in-store experience, and on online experience is very user friendly, and that's what keeps them coming back.
okay. Excellent. What are the styles? What are the trends right now that are popular with in general, and then maybe even the how are the younger generations different potentially?
Yeah, so one of the big ones for us right now is we're very female focused. I'd start there,
That's
and
good. That's probably good. With shoes, it's probably good to be focused on the female side.
absolutely, yeah. We're very female focused, and brands like UGG and Birkenstock are kind of leading the way for us. In the last year, we added Nike as well, or I should say, rather, returned Nike back into the family, and that's seen some really positive results for us. Seasonally, as we get into cooler weather, we're going to see more in the shoe boot aspects of shoes. So brands like Hunter and Timberland start to really take off also.
Okay, well, that's good. I used to be a big Timberland guy. I think I have like eight colors, and then I kind of fell out just as I was collecting them. So I think only like one or two are broken in. So, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard a pair of Timberlands. They are not fun to break in.
I was always more the Converse and Vans type guy, which are
There
also
you go.
big
That's
brands
good.
for us.
That's good. Well, good, perfect. So I have a bunch of ladies in my household, so I seem to trip over Uggs like at every door. So
Same.
they all look the same, like fluffy and tan, and they have a fluffy inside. But they seem to like them, and they always want them for Christmas and birthdays, and they swear they're all different, but I'm not really sure. So Nike, you mentioned real quick that you just returned to Nike. Why did you come back to Nike? What happened there? Did it just why the transition? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, in terms of why they brought them back, it's just, I mean, Nike is just a very popular brand.
Yeah.
I know that they were part of the family in years past, and not really sure why that was the case that it had stopped. But I know in recent years there's been a lot of interest in it, and both with the new look of the stores and the added interest on our site and the growth of our loyalty program, there was just a lot of good reasons to bring that back up and return to the fold with them.
That's
We
good.
launched women's last year, kids earlier this year, and we'll be launching men's Nike here very soon. So
Yes.
excited to.
I'm a big Nike guy. I probably got about 100 pair of Nikes in my closet upstairs. So I like the shoes. I haven't bought them recently because they kind of changed some of their shoe lineup. I like the Air Force Maxes used to be my thing, right?
Yeah.
And then because they're very light and very comfortable, but they seem to be kind of flipping it back, right? And styles kind of come in,
Hmm.
come out, right? And they seem to be. I know they have a whole new leadership board there as well, but they seem to be doing some good things too. It's glad that good to hear that you're working with them again. That's good.
Yeah, very excited to have them.
Yeah, and one of the things is really interesting too. You know, we have a couple of shoe retailers that are part of Loyalty 360. Just how the promotion some of those retailers can bring, right? A new shoe drop can be very important to you and your line, correct? So Nike has a new shoe drop, a new shoe release. You know, you can have people waiting online, sign up for your loyalty program to get access to those new releases, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Look, shoes are very interesting in that regard because, yes, they're a utility and there's a need there, but there's such a part of that that is very self-expression, very fashion-forward culture piece. And a big part of our business is those launches, as you mentioned. You know, new style coming, people just got to have them. So,
Well, I would assume that would drive a pretty significant amount of emotional loyalty or emotional connection to the customer to journeys or through two journeys.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good to hear. Perfect. Your role, you run the loyalty program. You mentioned you've been there about 2 years. Can you tell us a bit more about what you do, kind of on a day-to-day perspective at Journeys?
Yeah, for sure. So, official title, loyalty program manager. I oversee loyalty operations for both the US and the Canada side. Um, the job itself is kind of fun. It's very eclectic. I get to sit in on conversations with various aspects of the business. You know, loyalty is unique in that way that we're touching a lot of different parts of the customer journey. So my day is consisting of having conversations with different departments, whether that's marketing and creative or training department to work with our sales teams or just really whatever aspect is the focus there. We're just constantly looking at how do we how do we engage with the customer more? How do we impact that decision to get them to join, keep them engaged throughout the funnel wherever they may be, and really just focus on deepening their relationship with the brand. Um, you know, I'm constantly having conversations internally, but also externally as well. Whether that's working with our platform partners, whether that's diving into industry research, or looking into articles on fashion trends or loyalty trends. Um, that
Okay.
is
Are
kind of what the
there,
day looks like.
we kind of touched on a little bit. Are there any fashion trends that are kind of standing out right now? I did read that the kind of the well, maybe it's not appropriate, but just some of the fashion trends, like women are wearing things that are see through more so to different events, and that's kind of had a backlash. There's a big article in the Wall Street Journal about that a couple weeks ago.
Uh, one of the trends from a shoe perspective, I would say right now is what they call like the ballet style shoes. So
Okay.
pretty much every brand is in the process of either just released or kicking off their ballet flat version of their shoe. Some of them are really interesting. Some of them are less my interest, I would say, but lot of variety there. But that's a big one right now for sure.
So ballet shoes, like no real soul to them, then kind of a soft sole, or
Soft sole, more of a flat, I would say.
okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you run operations for the U.S. side and Canada side and the loyalty program.
Mhm.
Obviously, you talked about dealing with your vendors, kind of keeping up to date on fashion and program specifics. What's the biggest opportunity or maybe challenge you face within your role of keeping the customer loyalty program relevant, engaging, up to date? What's the opportunity or challenge maybe that you face in that role?
Sure. in a weird way, I'd say one of the biggest challenges is also one of the things that I find the most interesting. And that's kind of what we've been talking about here. Shoe retail is very much driven by trends and what's hot in the moment. Our customers are constantly evolving with that. What they're looking for is different, whether it's seasonal, whether it's a new release. And we have to be able to recognize that as quick as we can and then make the necessary adjustments to stay relevant to them and delivering the experiences they're looking for. Um, on one hand, I have the benefit that Journeys has been able to do that really well for the last 40 years. So that's helpful to have some of that resources available. But it's one of those things that we are constantly doing. So staying abreast of trends, knowing what's new, what's next in the footwear space is definitely a challenge.
Okay. Are there any kind of keys to doing that well? Is it just being, because I would assume there's all kinds of trends, especially with influencers, right? They're wearing things that are new, different. Is there kind of a trick to the trade to be able to do that effectively? Because you mentioned Journeys does that quite well.
Yeah, it kind of stems from the relationships that we've built internally. So we've got people working in the affiliate marketing space, people working in social media spaces, just staying involved in the places that our consumers are,
Okay.
and being able to see what they're looking for and react accordingly.
Okay. You mentioned one of the big parts of your role is keeping up with customers. You talked about customers changing, the adaptation that everyone's seeing. When you look at that, are there some specific things that you see from a kind of customers changing? Is that they want different types of shoes more quickly? And then, what are you seeing in that regard? How are you seeing those changes manifest themselves, and how are you keeping up?
Yeah, I'd say recent months there's definitely been some patterns emerging around customer behaviors. Maybe maybe even go as far as to say people are being more intentional with their purchasing than in the past,
Okay.
prioritizing certain spending decisions, that kind of thing. But I mentioned this a bit earlier as well, though. But footwear is very much self-expression. So even in a world where people are being more intentional with their spending, there's a percentage of the customer base that is always going to be about what they're looking for. They got to have it. They got to have it now, and being able to kind of balance both sides of that is something that we're constantly working to do.
Okay. And you mentioned about you touched on a little bit of value. The customers are asking brands for more value, right? They could be in different sizes in a restaurant or at C stores. Maybe there's more discount on fuel purchases. Value is taking kind of a number of form factors now. How are you looking at value for your customers, especially in this K-shaped economy, K-shaped recovery, or however yeah, you may phrase it. How are you looking at value from an organizational perspective?
Yeah, I mean, first, everyone is kind of experiencing the economy a little differently. Kind of ties into what I was saying about shoes operating in a unique space, but definitely recognize that for a good portion of our customers, the price point, the rewards that we're offering, all of those things are still very much relevant to how they perceive value. But I don't know if I'd say that's necessarily the whole picture for everyone, especially not today. We do see a lot of consumers that are looking for a confidence in their purchases. Like they want to know that when they're shopping with a brand or shopping with Journeys, that we're not only providing the products that they're looking for, but we understand who they are as an individual. Being able to help them with their shopping experience, both online and in store, being seamless there, delivering personalized experiences for them, regardless of where they are in the funnel, that kind of thing. So if we can consistently do that, then we're creating not just value, but really long-term value for them.
That makes perfect sense. So you've talked about customer loyalty a little bit, and one of the great things about my role is I get to speak to smart people like yourself who are driving these customer loyalty programs, who are intimately focused on customer experience, customer engagement. And when you look at customer loyalty from a qualitative perspective, what does customer loyalty mean to you and to the Journeys brand?
Sure. Yeah, this is the big question, right? Loyalty for me, it really just starts and ends with trust. We are consistently delivering on brand promises and trying to create experiences with customers to get them to come back, and not just come back because they have a coupon that they want to use, but come back because they genuinely enjoy doing business with us. You know, it's it's a situation where we are constantly over and over again trying to build that loyalty relationship. Every interaction we have is a chance for us to either reinforce or challenge the expectation they have. So if they're visiting the store, they're browsing the site, opening an email, any touch point that we have with a customer is something that contributes to the relationship we have with them. And Journeys kind of takes that mindset as well. It's the overall customer experience that really funnels into loyalty. And my job is simply to ensure that anytime we have those interactions, we're strengthening that relationship. That way they continue to come back to us over time.
Excellent. You talk about the interactions. You have hundreds of stores, and 800 stores across the U.S. The frontline employee can be very important in that, right? You can have a great loyalty program. You can have all sorts of behavioral, attitudinal data, transactional data on customers, right? But that frontline employee is very important in that. How do you manage that relationship from a training perspective, getting to understand the importance of customer loyalty? Because you can have tons of success and an employee who may be on the front line may not be happy that day, may have had a bad day, and he can, torch all the goodwill that you have. So, how important is the employee loyalty part, the employee training, the understanding, socialization of the program?
Yeah, extremely important. We do a really great job of bringing in a staff that kind of fits who we are as a company. Our in-store training team has done an excellent job with being able to create documents to show what our all access program is, what we're trying to accomplish there, and even with our recent change to our we've called internally our 2.0 of all access, we work directly with the training team to make sure that they had all of the resources necessary to speak to the new elements and the aspects of the program that have changed. And they they're doing a great job of getting that out to the stores so that they can learn what's new, learn what's different, and then help speak to the value of why someone would want to be a member in the stores.
Okay. You work with Zeta Global. They help bring
Mhm.
and build out the All Access program. What resources do they bring to the program, and maybe how are they improving the customer experience and personalization side?
Yeah, so working with Zeta has been fantastic. We were actually a customer of Marigold even prior to the Zeta acquisition. What about a year ago? I guess it was now. And they've been a great partner the entire time. When we started talking about this 2.0 initiative, they came to us with some industry things that they had seen and some ideas that they thought would be successful, and really kind of integrated them with our ideas and their ideas, and came up with a really good plan on the back end. Um, from a what are we doing standpoint, like AI solutions, that kind of thing. I would say that even prior to the Zeta piece, that's something we've been working to integrate even more. Um, we use AI in a lot of different aspects of our loyalty program, but even wider on just our digital business in general to kind of improve efficiency and help us act a little quicker in some areas. A couple examples: we do AI to help select things like hero images and emails and banners on site, that kind of thing, based on even product recs, based on information we have on the customer and what their viewing behaviors have been, what their purchasing behaviors have been. And that lets us scale that kind of more personalized experience at a level we wouldn't really be able to do manually. Even another example would be like business intelligence uses a lot of AI and reporting dashboards and the analytics pieces there to try to identify trends as quick as possible. Kind of tying into what we were talking about earlier, trends change very fast in the fashion space and especially in shoe fashion. So being able to identify things as quick as we can and then act on them allows us to really reduce some of the friction there, be more efficient.
That's awesome. That's great. It definitely has been a warming. We just released the State of Customer Loyalty paper into the
Mhm.
market this a couple weeks back, and the usage of AI has definitely grown pretty significantly over the last year.
For sure.
Brands had some consternation, concerns about using it, how to use it, who has access, what happened to the data. But I think on the customer loyalty marketing CX side, brands are definitely picking up the pace with regard to how they can use it and how it can drive value for the brand. So that's good to see as well. Shoes, it's not an everyday purchase, but it's a more than yearly purchase, right? How do you keep the reward members engaged when they are not currently in the market for a new pair of shoes? What do you do as a brand to communicate with them? For messages, gamification, engagement, kind of that offline transactional opportunity. How are you doing that?
Yeah, so to start, I would say that if we're only interacting when the member is ready to make a purchase, then we're missing a lot of opportunities to have messages with them and to strengthen that relationship. And that was kind of the whole driving philosophy behind the 2.0 initiative was to create more meaningful reasons to engage in between those shopping periods. Whether it's personalized content, whether it's gamification pieces, adding in some surveys and wheels and that kind of thing. We've also implemented some new elements through the 2.0 with badges and punch cards and things to try to generate some additional interest there. Um, the badges help us kind of celebrate different milestones. Maybe they've bought so many items of a particular brand. Maybe they've engaged in a certain number of surveys, that kind of thing. So it really kind of helps us speak to them even when it's not the moment of purchase and
Yep.
just kind of stay at the forefront of their mind.
Yeah, it's interesting on our side. We have weekly meetings with the brands that talk about different topics around customer loyalty and this simplicity, right? Badges, punch cards, even just true punch cards, right? Just getting out, going back to kind of the old school way of doing it, or using the app to mimic or mirror what a punch
Mhm.
card would look like, are very important. And using different behavioral science kind of methodologies to accelerate the engagement. But they're doing quite well, right? Because it's tangible, it's nostalgic, it has a very emotive appeal as well, and brands seem to be doing. More of that than they have, right? Either just a traditional punch card or using the app to mirror some of those things. It's quite interesting to see that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're roughly a month into our new program launch, so we're still very early in the terms of the data that we've been able to pull from that, but thus far it's been very promising for us.
That's great. Good to hear. What's next for customer loyalty, customer experience at Journeys? What are you guys looking to do over the next year or so?
Well, kind of continuing on what I was just saying, we launched about a year ago, goodness, a month ago with our new program pieces, and we're going to be compiling the data that we get there and then kind of making some decisions from what we receive. Um, the mentioned earlier that the company is 40 years old. The loyalty program is much younger, right? So we've had loyalty for about 3 years. And it was really the information we've collected to this point that kind of led to the 2.0 changes, right? So we saw what pieces were working, we saw what pieces weren't, and we saw where some opportunities lied for us to make improvements to the program. And it really was recognizing those opportunities that led to us crafting the 2.0 strategy and saying this is the type of relationship our customer wants to have with us and building from there. So in terms of what's next, it's going to be continuing that process. We'll pull the information in, learn what we can learn from the story the data tells us, and then adjust accordingly from there.
Earlier, you talked a little bit about what customer loyalty means to you as an organization. One of the big things brands are doing or seeing is spending more time, or at least having kind of a consistent message to socialize internally around, right? How
Mhm.
important the program is, because a byproduct of that is that you see a more successful program eventually, or consecutively or concurrently, right? It does well. How is customer loyalty viewed internally? I would assume it's viewed pretty positively. You're making investments, rolling out new programs. That seems to be a pretty solid commitment within the organization internally around the program.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been increasingly adding more and more to the program as we go. We've got great buy-in from the leadership team, and all of that stems from the data that we've collected to this point. There's evidence there that shows our members are shopping more frequently and they're spending more when they come. So of course that's a very easy sell to say let's continue to push this and grow the program. And then the members themselves are kind of speaking to it as well. We've continued to see growth. I mentioned we're 3 years in at this point, but even just looking at this year, we're 6 months into our fiscal year, and we're 6 for 6, outpacing new acquisitions from last year. So we're growing at a great rate, and all of that adds up to say this is working for us, and this is moving the needle for us, and we want to continue to keep the foot on the gas, so to speak.
Perfect. Okay. Last question. What can Loyalty 360 do to help you and your team in your customer loyalty efforts?
Yeah, so I feel like I kind of have to start with the fact that it's a little surreal to be sitting here chatting with you today. I have a fairly long commute to the office, and I like to do podcasts and things to get into work mode on the way in. And I listen to the show every week, so that was a little surreal to be on the other side of the microphone. But in
Thank
general, even beyond the podcast, I would say 360 is helpful just to be able to share conversations and talk about ideas, kind of like we're doing now. I mentioned I did not start in the loyalty world. I was in the PR industry for a long time and then switched over to loyalty, about 4 years in total now in the loyalty space. But coming into that later in my career, I really relied on the tools and resources that were out there, 360 being one of them. So I would say continuing to do the things that you're doing from a podcast standpoint, from the articles on the site standpoint, those have really helped kind of accelerate my growth and my understanding of the industry.
Oh, perfect. That's great to hear. So yeah, and yeah, it's definitely a very interesting time to be in customer loyalty and customer experience, and getting to speak to people that are on the forefront, both on the technology side and the brand side, is just one of the best things to do to have as a job. It's just great to speak to people about there a lot of passion around it, a lot of interest in it. So it's not a
Mhm.
boring area. So thank you for the compliments, and thanks for everything you do to support the industry as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Perfect. And thank you everyone else for taking the time to tune in. Be sure you check back every Thursday for a new episode of the Leaders in Customer Loyalty podcast, the Brand Stories Edition. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on YouTube and across our media channels. They are all listed below in the comments section below. Thank you very much.